Hi everyone, and welcome to the conclusion of the Corsair Vengeance 1300 and 1500 headset review. In this video we're going to briefly take a look at both of the headsets, and then I'm going to go over what I liked about the headsets, what I didn't like so much, and deliver my final verdict. Today we're actually going to start with the Vengeance 1500. The Vengeance 1500 is the headset that I'm holding right now. It is Corsair's latest wired and USB based headset. It has 50mm drivers. It utilizes brushed aluminum accents on the headband. It has a boom mic, microfiber covering on the ear cups, and most importantly it has virtual surround sound support. There is only one driver in each ear. They're using some algorithmic magic to make it seem like it's surround sound, and for the most part it actually did pretty well in that department. There were a few titles where the surround sound was a bit off and the positional audio wasn't quite correct, but in most of the titles that had multi-channel sources, it actually did pretty well at the positional audio, and it was actually pretty believable. And in many of those cases the Vengeance 1500 was actually, pulled ahead of the other two headsets that I looked at just by merits of the surround sound feature alone. The audio quality in general was clear, and it was really able to hit the highs pretty well. Bass response was not muddy at all. It didn't really distort. It wasn't quite as punchy as I would have liked, but it wasn't bad. It definitely took a little bit of getting used to though, just because the sound profile is so much different from the headset that I'm used to. So that leads me into what I like about this headset, and as I mentioned before, the surround sound audio is probably the biggest thing. The design of the headset is actually pretty nice as well. I actually do really dig the brushed aluminum accents and the glossy black and blue around the ear cups and the matte black. The headband pattern is pretty cool. They provide a bunch of padding. It's really comfortable. As you can see, there's plenty of padding there. The second thing that I like about this headset is that Corsair provides plenty of cable. You can easily plug this into the rear USB ports of your desktop computer, and route it up through the back of your desk and still have plenty of room to move around. So just to recap, the things that I like about this headset are the aesthetics, the virtual surround sound, and the braided cabling. Now, as far as what I think Corsair could do to improve this headset, despite loving the brushed aluminum accents, it does add a noticeable bit of weight compared to the Vengeance 1300. It's not to the point of feeling fatigued even over long hours. I still feel fine. It's not that weighty, but just when you're wearing it for a while and you take it off, you can definitely feel the difference. And compared to the other headsets, it is noticeably heavier. So I think the Vengeance 1300 actually has a really good weight balance, and I would really like to see that reflected by Corsair trying to trim down the 1500 to achieve the same weight as the 1300. As far as numbers, they're actually located in the beginning of the review, and they're actually not that far apart. I believe they're only like 2 grams difference, but for some reason I can feel the difference there, noticeably. I'm not sure if it's just I don't know, the way the weight is balanced, but it definitely feels a bit weightier than I think it could have. Even if it means giving up the brushed aluminum, I think I would rather have it be just a little bit slimmer. The other major gripe that I have about this headset, and again, gripe probably isn't the right word because they're not really, you know, detrimental per se, but it is the ear cup padding. Despite being very comfortable to wear, they are about impossible to keep clean. Especially when you have a corgi puppy running around the house, these things are not, you know, they're just not going to be clean. I vacuumed this, I used a, you know, damp cloth to try to clean it off like Corsair recommends, and they are still, you know, so hard to keep clean. They have dust and little puppy hairs all over them, and I'm not sure how that you know it's even getting on there, but yeah, they're basically dust magnets, and that is you know, I mean, I'm not sure what they could do to make that better, but the, you know, the leather covering on the Vengeance 1300 is a lot easier to keep clean, but you know, you get the ear sweat, and then here you have you know, they're more comfortable to wear over long periods of time, but they're dust magnets. So I mean, you know, I mean, it's a trade-off. It's really up to you, but I don't know, it's just something I don't really like about these headsets, is that they just attract so much dust, and you know, it's like impossible to clean off. So I like to see some sort of new design that, you know, can fix that. You know, I did mention before that, you know, there are some situations where the audio wasn't quite where I thought it could have been, and that's probably the other thing that I'd like to see improved. You know, I think it's good as is, but I think if Corsair could, you know, even, you know, ramp it up even more and, you know, make it even better, you know, obviously that would be better, right? You know, that one's not really a major gripe, but the last thing that I'll say that I'd like to see them improve upon is the control pod. You know, it's light, it's built sturdily. I've used this for a few weeks and none of the buttons are wearing out. It's still, you know, just like it was when it came out of the box. You know, none of them feel loose or anything, but Corsair provides two LEDs that show up as a ring around these two volume plus and minus buttons, and basically they act as a way for you to easily see at a glance whether the mic is muted or unmuted. Now when the mic is muted, it's a, you know, reddish orangish color, and you know, it's not so bad even at night. But when it's not muted, it's blue, and these blue LEDs are really bright. And even when you put your computer to sleep at night, you know, obviously this is still plugged into the USB port, it's still going to provide power, and the blue LEDs can, you know, be blindingly bright at night. So, you know, while I do love blue, I would like to see some sort of option, whether it's, you know, in their software control panel, or even if it's just a physical switch to turn off the LEDs manually, that, or maybe just go with a, you know, some sort of dimmer color, some sort of dimmer LED. So, you know, from all that, it does sort of sound like I'm being really nitpicky with this headset, but in the end, I actually really liked it. You know, this headset is actually going to get the PC Perspective Editor's Choice for the simple fact that I really love it, and I can, you know, definitely recommend it to people. I think that is, you know, especially worth buying if you're a gamer, and or if you like movies and also want a headset. If you have less than $100, you don't have money invested in a dedicated sound card, or a high-end dedicated sound card, I should say, the Vengeance 1500 is actually probably going to be a really good buy for you. The audio quality isn't perfect, but it's pretty good, and for the most part, this is really comfortable to wear. Just if they can get rid of the dust magnets, that would be awesome. So yeah, I can definitely recommend this. Okay, so we've taken a look at the Vengeance 1500, and overall I really liked it. Despite a few things that I think they could improve upon. Similar situation with the Vengeance 1300. Now this headset is Corsair's latest wired analog Vengeance gaming headset. It's heavier than my personal cans, but lighter than the 1500, and I actually think it's a nice balance. Now they do away with the brushed aluminum accents in favor of a matte black finish. They still retain the Edge Corsair logo though. They instead use glossy black accents, where the Vengeance 1500 uses matte. Same sort of ear cup design except for the covering, which is leather, like the headband, which has the same pattern as the 1500. I went into this review, unlike the 1500, I went in with high hopes for this headset because it was analog and I had a sound card. For the most part, I was not disappointed. It did pretty well in just about every test. There were some situations where the audio, it just wasn't quite at the level where I thought it should have been. Compared to the other headsets and compared to how it did in other tests. So, it's not perfect, but it is actually, close to being really good, especially for the money. This does use 50mm drivers, but there is no virtual surround sound support like with the 1500. It is CMSS 3D only, which I played around with it. I didn't really like it. It just really did not, feel as believable as, say, the Dolby headphone tech. It's not really going to, judge it too harshly based on that. I think it's mostly personal preference there, and for the most part, I think you're going to be buying this headset, for stereo performance. So, of the things that I do like about this headset, like I said before, the sound quality is pretty good, even pushing really good in some tests. Corsair provides, again, plenty of cable here. You can easily reach the rear audio ports on your sound card, still have plenty of room to move around. The microphone on the 1300 was pretty close to the performance of the 1500, which is, good enough for voice communication, in-game chat, VoIP calls, things of that nature. The 1300 though, I had to jack up the input microphone levels to be able to hear my voice and record it, but other than that, it actually, is pretty good. The control pod, right, it's in line with the cable, it's lightweight, it doesn't add very much weight. And this headset does just, it looks pretty sharp. Not really sure it's coming through so well on the video, but it does look really good in person. There are a few things that I think Corsair could do to improve this headset. And the first is that I'd like to see them implement a, detachable control pod, or some other method to break up this cable so that it's not so long, and go with the method that SteelSeries has for their headset, which is have about 2 feet of cable down to the from the headset to the control pod, but then have the control pod detachable and have it also act as a extension cable. there are, you know, design considerations and audio quality considerations there, but at the same time I think that's a really useful feature, especially when, you know, you're dealing with this much cable and you want to travel with it, or you want to use it with a, you know, laptop. It's just a lot of cable to manage. You know, not a big gripe. I just think that would make this headset, you know, that much cooler. You know, the only other thing was the ear cups, which they do a good job of providing noise isolation, and they're much easier to keep clean, like I mentioned before. Only problem is that there's not much ventilation, and this material is not very breathable, so you run into, you know, the whole ear sweat phenomena. You know, I'm not really sure what the solution is there. Again, just like with the 1500, I would like to see some sort of other option on this headset, because otherwise I think it's really good. That's really the only thing sorry, that's really the only thing holding it back comfort-wise from, you know, being really good. As far as the, you know, singular question that I went into this review to answer, and that is this worth buying? Short answer, yes. Long answer, I don't know, it's a little more complicated, right? So the long answer is that this headset is, you know, definitely worth buying if you're a gamer who doesn't have, you know, that much money wrapped up in a high-end sound card, and, you know, has, you know, less than $100 to spend on a headset. They don't want to, you know, go through all the hassle of trying to find, you know, dedicated microphone, dedicated pair of headphones. You know, they just want a, you know, good, clean-looking solution that sounds, you know, that sounds good to boot, right? So you can find the Vengeance 1300 for, you know, anywhere between $60 and $80 online, and, you know, at that price point, especially, you know, at $60, I think that this is definitely worth buying. But, you know, again, back to the longer answer here is that it's definitely worth buying for people that want to use it to play games. It's, you know, it does okay in the other areas, but because it doesn't have, say, you know, the virtual surround sound to, you know, really ramp up the movie experience, I think that you'd probably be better off with just, you know, a pair of headphones if you aren't doing any gaming and you just want, you know, something to and you just want something to listen to music and listen to movies on. Probably better off with, you know, just a pair of headphones and investing as much money as possible into that. But if you want a headset and you want a game, go for this, or at least start here. Came away pretty impressed with it. It's getting the PC Perspective Silver Award because the product does live up to, you know, it does live up to the hype. It does deliver on the promises that Corsair made when advertising this product as a gaming headset. It's getting a Silver Award because of the, you know, minor comfort issue. You know, your results may vary. You may not run into that ear sweat issue. I did. It's also getting, you know, it didn't quite make it to the editor's choice just because of several, you know, little minor things, audio quality wise, and some certain specific tests that I did that it fell short of where I felt it could be. So I think that this is a good headset. There's room for improvement, and I want to see Corsair continue in this market and continue to develop the product. This has been Tim Berry with PC Perspective. Be sure to check out the full review at PCPro.com.
Be sure to check out PCPro.com for more reviews and information on everything PC hardware.
You know, in the end, these headsets are, you know, going to be going back to Corsair, and I'll probably go back to my personal pair of headphones for a while. But in the end, you know, in a few weeks or a few months, I think I'm actually going to go out and buy me a pair of the Vengeance 1500s. because during testing, I really grew to really, oh god, I can't talk today, guys. Sorry, been yelling at, like I made famously in that earlier video for NVIDIA, where I was yelling at Gabby, right? Been yelling at her all day because she's decided to bark all the time now. Anyway, sorry, it's totally off topic, but I really grew to like this headset during testing, and I think that the surround sound mode is pretty cool, especially being USB based. It actually performed really well, and yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up. I think that wraps it up pretty nicely. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to head over to the text review, which has more video, more photos, and got kind of wordy with the text review, but hopefully it does help you guys come to a decision on whether or not these are worth checking out. This is my first hardware review for PC Perspective, and let's just say that not only did I learn a lot of good things to do for next time, to tell you guys about the product in a more concise manner, I also learned a lot of what not to do, and so there are, I don't know, I sort of have to strike a balance between being super wordy and nitpicky, and analyzing it and getting down to the one single simple question that I think is the most important thing, and that is, are these worth buying? Are these worth checking out? Because when I bought my personal headset, I must have read 20 reviews, and some of the reviews got really in depth, like these people were like really into audio. They did specific testing, objective testing in the speaker output using specialized tools, and that was just way too bare metal for me. I like to consume a lot of media. I like to listen to music. I like to listen to movies, all this stuff, but I'm okay with good sound. I don't really need audiophile sound. I just need the media to be enjoyable and to sound good. So in reading these reviews, those didn't really help me. So I read some other reviews, and they were sort of simplistic. They went over the basics, aesthetics. They did a few sound testing things where they might have tried it with a few movies or something, and those didn't really meet my use case, because I like to do a whole bunch of stuff. I like to game, play movies, play music, just all this sort of stuff that spans a lot of different tasks. So those didn't really work. So I just kept reading reviews, and all I really wanted to know was are these worth buying? It's like someone just tell me, right? So that's what I'm going to try to do, and that's what I sort of try to do in this review, with telling you guys what I love, what I'd like to see improved, and what my verdict was. I also provided a lot of different tests that weren't as objective as I would like, because audio is very subjective, but I really tried my best from a person that consumes media and doesn't necessarily come from an audio engineering background. I still tried to be as objective as I could, while also sort of striking a balance between how I felt it sounded, whether I thought it sounded good, and how it performed at an physical level, like how the speakers actually performed, right? So how they performed, how they sounded, how I came to those conclusions, and how you guys can come to those same conclusions. In the end, they are worth buying. less than $100. They're a pretty good deal for, you know, headsets, right? I have a couple audio friends that are probably more into, you know, more audiophile than I am. That, you know, they really push for, you know, getting separates. So, you know, going out and specking out a good pair of headphones, going out and specking out a good microphone within that same budget. And you know, it's not a bad idea, but you know, when you have less than $100 to spend on a headset, or sorry, when you have less than $100 to spend on, you know, headphone or microphone, you might as well just go with a good headset. You know, because you're going to be doing a lot less research than trying to find good deals on, you know, good microphones and good deals on good headphones. At least in my experience, you know, when I try to, you know, find my headset, you know, they tried to, you know, recommend me all these good microphones and all these good headphones. And in that situation, I sort of felt like people must feel when they're coming to forums and asking, you know, me and others for help, you know, speccing out a computer build, where you have, you know, all these parts and you don't really know, you know, what's, you know, quote unquote worth it and what's not. And, you know, you sort of have to fit within this constrained budget. And there's, you know, there's a certain point, and it seems to me it's like, you know, around, you know, sub $100, where the time involved in researching the separate solution, you know, ends up costing more than just going out and finding a good headset like these, or like the SteelSeries. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it. You know, I hope that you guys find the review worthwhile, and I hope that it answers the questions that you have about the products. Now, if you guys have any further questions, feel free to, you know, drop a line in the comments and, you know, ask away, and I'll try to answer them as best as possible. Thanks for watching, and I'd just like to thank you guys for supporting the site. Be sure to check out PCPro.com for the full review.